Hey Oscar, check out this video.
Are those people playing volleyball in front of a volcano? That can't be real.
Oh, but it is. Let me tell you more. A volcano on the Reykjanes Peninsula in Iceland began erupting in mid-March and hasn't stopped since. Tourists have flocked to come see this natural wonder, with more than 10,000 visitors in the first few days after the eruption began. But don't get too close. This volcano is spewing lava at a rate of 5 to 10 cubic meters per second. According to volcanology professor Thordsson from the University of Iceland, the volcano could stop erupting tomorrow, or it could keep going for years.
That's crazy! How could it keep erupting for years? I made a homemade volcano once for a science fair, and it only erupted for like 2 minutes. It was the worst because Billy Jenkins' volcano kept going for the whole time, and he won first place at the science fair. Billy Jenkins.
Sorry about the science fair, Oscar, but homemade volcanoes are not the real thing.
I guess so, but how can they erupt for years?
That's a great question. I think it's time to head to our favorite science nerd, Trenton, to learn more about volcanoes in this week's edition of NexGen Science.
Hey NexGen viewers, Trenton here for an explosive new edition of NexGen Science. Today, we're talking volcanoes, one of Earth's natural wonders. If you're like Oscar and Giovanna, you might be wondering, how do volcanoes erupt? Well, let's take another look at the volcano in Iceland and then I'll explain. Pretty amazing, right? But how is this hot lava pouring out of the Earth? Well, let's venture down into the Earth to unpack this phenomenon. The Earth is like an onion, or a cake. It has many layers. The outermost rocky layer is the layer that we live on and is called the lithosphere, which includes the Earth's crust and upper mantle. Then there's the mantle, which includes the upper mantle and the lower mantle. When you go a little deeper, you get to the outer liquid iron core, and finally the inner solid iron core. To understand how volcanoes erupt, we need to focus on the mantle. The mantle makes up about 84% of the Earth's volume and is made up of rocks rich in magnesium and iron. Intense heat and pressure in the mantle causes these rocks to turn to liquid magma and rise. Then, when it cools, it solidifies and sinks back down towards the core. The liquid magma rises because the liquid has less mass than solid rocks, causing it to rise to the surface. Now, this sinking and rising process happens all the time under the Earth's crust without us even knowing, and causes the tectonic plates under the Earth's surface to move. Which is how earthquakes happen, but that's a whole other phenomenon for another time. So for now, let's stick to volcanoes. Back to the mantle. When this hot liquid magma rises above the solid rock and pushes through the Earth's crust through a fissure or hole, volcanoes erupt. Once magma has erupted, it is called lava, and it is hot, hot, hot. As soon as the lava hits the air, it cools and begins to harden and return back to its solid rock form. Pretty cool, right? Well, I guess it's actually pretty hot. But anyways, let's now apply this process to the volcano that's currently erupting in Iceland. The lava you see here is from liquid magma coming from the mantle. It's pushed through the Earth's crust here and here. Notice as the lava flows down and touches the air, it doesn't stay in that red hot lava form. That's because it begins to cool and solidify back into rock. So, going back to Oscar's original question, how can a volcano erupt for years? Well, as long as the magma continues to push through the Earth's crust in this location, the volcano will continue to erupt. If the magma in the mantle cools or solidifies, or the opening where the magma is coming out gets blocked or closes, then the eruption will stop.
Whoa, thanks Trenton. That was a real deep explanation.
Yes, thanks, Trenton. So I guess if I want to win the science fair next year, I need to find a way to keep the liquid magma pushing through the surface. I'm coming for you, Billy Jenkins.